Well, everybody, welcome back to the Tuxes and Tomahawks podcast. I'm Adam Dorito, and today we actually have a really special guest. His name is Casey West, and he actually came to my house today, and this is my first in-person podcast, and I'm really excited to do it. And, you know, I'm a veteran. You know, I serve in the Army as an intel guy, and when I heard about Casey's story from my compatriot, Mr. Jason Lawfern, who is the president of the American Veterans First Alliance, and he told me what was going on, and we watched his story, it really needs some attention, and it needs it now. And with all the important elections going on in the state, it is absolutely critical that our representatives are held accountable to help our veterans, especially with our disastrous VA system, and making sure that we're taking care of everyone in this country effectively. And I think Casey today is going to tell an incredible and inspiring story. Casey, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here, man. You got a beautiful place out here.
Well, thanks, man. I appreciate it. So, Casey, who are you? Where are you from? And how did you even end up here in my house in the first place?
All right. So, as you know, my name is Casey West. I served almost 5 years in the Marine Corps, a couple combat deployments to Afghanistan, was a helicopter mechanic turned door gunner, essentially. So I was an aerial gunner, and exposed to a lot of toxic things out there in Afghanistan that I didn't really understand at that point, whether it be uranium, whether it be, whatever I was inhaling out there all the time, the fuel derivatives or whatever. I was getting sick and didn't quite understand it yet. So, after I got out the Marine Corps, I was getting sick and I was on a healing journey, but more of self-destruction before I actually found healing. So lost my mind for a little bit, literally, had a brain tumor and dealing with the VA for, 7 years, close to 8 years before I even got my diagnosis. So I got out 2014 from the Marine Corps, and then in 2022 was diagnosed with glioblastoma, which is terminal brain cancer. So I had been fighting the VA system to get a brain scan for years before I even got my diagnosis. I had mishap. I was misdiagnosed. Everything was all in my head, psychosomatic. Here's more psych meds. So they just turned me into a zombie, really. And they convinced me that what I was experiencing was, all in my head. And the pun of it is that it literally was all in my head. I had a brain tumor in there. And so I was losing my mind. I didn't have a sense of reality anymore. I was hallucinating, auditory, visual hallucinations. I was very confused. It was like a confabulatory lifestyle. So I was living in another world where everybody else was in what may have seemed like a normal world for them. And so I just really lost my mind, and it was deteriorating. And in 2022, January 2022, I had to go to the emergency room because I had gotten so sick at that point. And so they found a brain tumor. And so years and years and years of battling the VA, gave up on them. And when I found out I had a brain tumor, it was very liberating, right? Because I knew I wasn't crazy. And so I had this idea of what was wrong with me. And then I had to go figure out how to beat it. And they only gave me 3 months to live. And, being a Marine, a military guy yourself, we can be pretty stubborn, it's not my time yet, right? So that's kind of where the journey started, the healing journey. But you talk about having to put your faith in the VA system. In 2014, got out the military, went for them for my care, psychological, physical, whatever. I've been bumped and bruised overseas. and then them failing me over and over again. And then 2022, finally coming to get the results of I had a terminal brain cancer diagnosis, and I wasn't crazy, and now I got to figure out how to beat it. So that's kind of like really the jump off point of my life was when I got that diagnosis. I had this newfound, like, I'm going to beat this. So the warrior in me came back out. I was no longer confused about what was happening to me. And so like it's just been a nonstop healing journey since 2022. And because I had already been exposed to so much toxicity, the radiation, the FLIR systems in the helicopters, CH-53 Echoes, they were just blasting me with radiation. Imagine standing in an x-ray for hours, right? And then, the bullets we shot, not XM-118, the Gal-21, that was the gun I was working with, uranium from the bullets, and then uranium from the components in the helicopter, and no proper nutrition and no sleep. And, so like it destroyed my body. There was no way I was doing chemo and radiation. I knew that.
I mean, you expose yourself to enough of it anyway, and it's not like white monsters and tornadoes are going to fix you in the first place. But don't tell any of the privates down at Carson that. They might lose their mind.
So you hit the nail on the head. Like there's this idea out here that we have to heal one way, and it's the standard of care, and they're telling you how you have to do it. And this is kind of like the issue with the VA. They're telling you how you have to do it, and there's no other way to do it. And if you want to do it another way, you got to pay. So I exhausted my entire life savings, $100,000 right off the bat to go buy like hyperbaric chambers, cold plunge, saunas, like the testing I had to do to go figure out what was in my system in the first place, all the toxins that were in my system, in my blood, and figuring out how to get all this out, right? Like we get exposed to so many toxins as military members. You don't even have to go on deployment. Look at Camp Lejeune. Look at the water on Camp Lejeune. You got kids from the families getting cancer out there at a young age, and this is happening all over the country. So we know we have an issue. We have a huge, like a pandemic of our brothers and sisters getting crushed with cancer, and they're only allowed or afforded one way to fight it. And we know that the way they want to fight it is killing them just as fast as the cancer. So that's been the problem.
I agree with you. And this is actually, it's kind of interesting. This kind of all started with the whole Agent Orange argument back in Vietnam, that these guys were crazy, that there's no way that they could, be getting cancer, that this stuff was totally safe. And it obviously wasn't. And that perpetuated for 30, 40 years before anyone took it seriously. And obviously the technology over the years has increased. Our medical testing has gotten better, but yeah, you're right, man. I've been to the Middle East too. There's still uranium all over the desert out there. We had the Duke systems on top of our HIMARS and all our armored vehicles. Same thing. You're getting exposed. Like if you stand in front of that, they literally said, if you stand in front of this, you're not going to have kids. If you stand in front of like all the satellite dishes and all the powered equipment we had outside for Intel, they're like, literally, if you stand in front of this, you're going to get cancer. But just walk past it every day and just make sure you're getting your 5 miles in every morning, because if you don't, you're fired. We're going to like de-rank you or something. Right? It's insanity that, and like this technology is probably still from the 70s and 80s, like the AP-77 radars and stuff, right? So it breaks my heart to know we know there's a problem with our equipment. We know that it's dangerous, and it's military equipment. It's necessary for what we're doing, but we know that there's an after effect, and we each sign the dotted line accepting these risks. But the VA was created, basically after the Civil War. Kind of a funny story about that. So my great-whatever grandfather was an officer in the Civil War. He got shot in the head, got hit with a cavalry sword. He got put in Andersonville prison. He was one of the few guys that escaped. Then apparently he went like all the way back to Gettysburg, like overland, which is insane, from Andersonville, fought in that, and then went over to D.C. When the war ended, because as an officer, he was pissed off he wasn't getting his $1.80 a month from the new VA that was just created, from the Department of War, that it was called back then. So he actually led the first insurrection against D.C. where the National Guard was called up. And that's kind of funny because when I was in the National Guard, I deployed to D.C. to stop the second insurrection, which I'm like, oh, family history of the Dorito family pissing off the government, apparently. But we know, like, that was the whole purpose. After the Civil War, an agreement was made that we're going to take care of our veterans, we're going to heal as a country, and we've just seen this system perpetually get worse over time. And just like you, that you've personally experienced, all the injuries I've gotten as a paratrooper, but now you're right, there's only one standard of care, and it is impossible for us to get the right treatment. Here's a bunch of pills. Go talk to this therapist that just graduated college 3 months ago who has no idea what you experienced. And then they're expecting us to go, oh yeah, we're just going to take this handful of pills and we're going to go on our merry way. And I think one of the most biggest contentious issues that's going on in this country right now is, they're all worried about that the current presidential administration is going to fire all these VA people. Oh, and it's going to be less care for veterans. Well, I don't know how much worse it could get than it is now. I mean, anyone who's been in the military logically knows that most of these civilians that work in the government are absolutely useless and do nothing. Go to CIF, go to Central Issuing Facility, and tell me that these people don't need to get fired. Okay? Like, I didn't even take this out of the plastic bag, but somehow I still owe the government $800 to return a jacket and a plate carrier, right? So the problem with the VA now is that it needs to be completely reformed. I mean, honestly, without literally burning every building down and starting from scratch, which people in Colorado, you know how much of a disaster it was getting the VA building built here in Denver. It was like $1 billion over budget, and it wasn't online. It was like 20-something years or whatever of like finagling how to get that work, and it's still a broken system. I got off deployment in 2021. I still can't get a VA appointment to do my after stuff from everything that I dealt with, right? So it's just pure insanity to me that someone who actually has a legitimate medical issue such as yourself, you still can't get any type of care, and then the care they give you isn't going to do anything. So like, explain to me, like, so you came back from deployment. What was your experience like once you found out that you were kind of sick? You know, you said you went through some mental health issues, but that was literally because you had a tumor in your brain. So let's walk through that entire process, how you discovered it, how you started recreating yourself, and then how you started redeveloping who you are as Casey West, and then trying to fight this horrible disease that you got.
Yeah, so I'm just going to bring it back to like my first appointment when I got out of the Marine Corps in 2014, and then I'll get to the rest of the stuff. But just so people have an idea how ridiculous the VA is, I just got back from Afghanistan. It was a busy deployment. You know what I mean? We were busy, 93, 94 combat missions, and I went home Advon to go deal with some stuff. So I didn't even stay the full 7 months. And I was flying like every other day, you know what I mean? And no sleep and around like that culture, that Afghan culture out there. And like I did have some, you know, PTSD, like whatever they're calling it, PTS, like whatever they're calling it these days. I had some stuff, some traumas from out there, and I needed to go see somebody. So when I left the Marine Corps, January 1st, 2014, the first psychologist they sent me into was a Pakistani psychologist. And I don't have a problem with Pakistanis, but
some people do.
Yeah, but you could understand, young man just gets out from war, August, and then that January or before, I'm already seeing a Pakistani doctor. The smells, you know, like the culture, the way they talk to you and speak to you, like it was such.
Anyone who's been to the Middle East knows exactly what you're talking about. It's just that they don't like wash their hands, they don't wear shoes, they don't wear deodorant. Like it's just, you know, like the burning trash, the dead animals all over the road. Like it's just.
So when you walk into that office and like I freaked out, you know, so like I didn't have a good appointment, and they gave me 30% for PTS while I'm, you know, drinking myself to sleep every night, while I'm just running through these things over and over in my head again, and I need help. And they just immediately screwed me on my claim. And then for years I fought till 2017 to get my 100%. Like, I get it, man. Like, people go through crazy stuff. People lose their legs. Like, there's all this insane stuff people go through. The psychological game, the physical game. People get fucked up overseas. And it took me from 2014 to 2017 to get my 100% so I can, like, start to figure out where, like, a foundation in life. I was struggling to survive. I couldn't take care of myself. No, I had a brain cancer going on. I didn't understand. But the jumping through hoops never ends. It's designed this way. And a lot of dudes don't make it this far. They end up smoking themselves, right? Suicide rates are high. When you're on hold hearing that retarded ringback music with the VA, and it's just stressing you out. Like, suicide hotline, call if you need help. You call the suicide hotline. The suicide hotline, dealing with them is hard. It's like, what are you guys trying to get me to do?
Honestly, like, especially after like watching your video on Instagram and stuff, they make the process so hard so you quit and give up and leave them alone. That's what it is. I mean, it's the same thing like I've gone through, like, you know, with my case that we briefly discussed before the podcast. It has been 15 years to get my mental health records corrected. So, like, what the Air Force ended up doing in my case is to discredit all my claims of sexual assault and harassment that I was putting against these generals. They went in and didn't tell me, like, a year after I got out in 2011. So I got out in 2010 originally from the Air Force Academy. Got out in 2010, like, in June. Didn't even know. They went into my mental health records and said I had 7 major psychological conditions from a doctor I never met. So that way, all the kids that we were prosecuting, the evidence I was putting against them could not be used in court of law because they said I was crazy. I didn't find out about that until I went into the Guard in 2015, and then I was reapplying to be an Apache helicopter pilot in 2017, and they wouldn't let me go to flight school because they said, well, you have all these psychological conditions. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, well, this Dr. Kristen Nicole Henley Price says you're crazy. I'm like, I don't know who that is. Like, well, it's in your medical records. I'm like, show me because every time you go to a doctor's appointment, you have to scan your CAT card. There's no CAT card record of me ever going into any psychological office ever during my active duty time in the Air Force. But somehow this is what they do, right? They go, this is your problem. So once again, it's been 15 years. It's almost getting resolved now. 15 years just to go to the Air Force Board of Corrections and Military Records to get falsified mental health records for retaliation fixed, right? And that's just, I'm not even 100% disabled. Well, I don't know. I might be. The amount of times I've jumped out of planes. I haven't gotten a full scan because I'm afraid to, because I'm like, everything hurts all the time. But if I'm dealing with that over 15 years and I've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal fees fighting in D.C., going to congressmen, going to all these people to hold some kind of accountability with these terrible officers and these terrible leaders that just can't do their job, you have terminal brain cancer and they still can't get it right. So and that's just two of us in this room.
Yep.
How many other people are dealing with that in the United States right now? And all these people who don't understand the military and don't understand the VA, they want to sit there and complain about us firing 80,000 VA employees. Well, they're not helping us. So who are they helping?
So I think this is like the biggest part. Like nothing that I'm doing here is for Casey West, right? Like I see the problem with me, and I know, just like you said, I cannot be the only brother or sister in this country going through this issue. And that's sad, because so when I got diagnosed in 2022 for terminal brain cancer, they gave me 3 months to live. I didn't go to the VA. I went to the emergency room that had the best neuro-oncologist, a neurosurgeon in the state of Texas in Fort Worth. I went to his emergency room that would feed me to see him, to have my brain surgery. So I was seeing him for 3 years, and that was from 2022 until, just about 6 months ago when I moved out to Colorado. But I am no longer able to see him. The VA, my paperwork with being able to be eligible for community care, it would lapse, and then it would take them 2 to 3 months to get all the paperwork squared away. So let me tell you, brother, so it was like I was supposed to have a scan. I'm paying out of pocket for my freaking brain scans. Why? Like you guys gave me the approval to go see this doctor, this surgeon who I trust and who I have to go see. So right now I don't have a doctor at all. They're not paying for anything. And right now I don't have the money. I can't afford labs. I can't afford my treatments. I decided to go alternative treatments. So I have to pay everything out of pocket. The only thing the VA's paid for, thank God, at least something, are the brain surgeries. But everything else has been on me. The biomarkers on the tumors that I had tested, $1,500, $2,000 out of my pocket. It's like, how am I supposed to beat this cancer? How can anyone afford to beat this cancer if you guys aren't even paying for the testing on the tumors that are being pulled out of their bodies? If you're not paying for the toxin screenings, we go into the military and we probably don't even have a tenth of the toxins. I know we grew up I'm a 90s baby, you know what I mean? So like I had a little more red dye in my food than
lead paint in the radiators, mom's smoking outside on the porch. It's fine.
Exactly. So some of this stuff that I was exposed to in the military is undeniably from my military service. So why are we not testing our guys when we get out to know what's in their systems? And why are we teaching them how to get them out? We go fight a war for you, but you don't want to help us recover from the war that we fought. So this is the issue, bro. We have to figure it out on our own. So what I've been doing on my social media platform is showing people how to do it and sharing with people how to do it, building the community so we all can collaborate together on what works best for us, because it's not the same. No two people are alike. How I beat cancer and someone else with the same GBM diagnosis may be different, but we have to do the testing. So I have had to pay out of pocket an extreme amount of money to stay alive. Now I can't afford that anymore. I don't have thousands of dollars every month to do specialty labs to see where I'm at. I just simply don't, and most people don't, So now we're at a point where I had to go back into the VA system. I moved to Colorado from Texas, and I needed to go figure out how to get an oncologist that would run my labs. And they fight me every single time I want to get more than just a CMP or a CBC. These standard blood testing, that doesn't tell you what you have going on an intrinsic level. So I am having to beg for the labs that I need, fight with them for it. And then ever since I got set up in the Golden VA right out here west of Denver, I have been waiting to get an oncologist. It's been over a month. It's like, dude, if say my 3 months diagnosis was real, say that I didn't have the fight in me and I didn't figure this out on my own, I don't have a doctor. I don't have an oncologist. I don't have any of that. There's no one telling me how to do this except for my own two eyes, doing my research, connecting with other brothers and sisters on the same journey. So now I need the VA to pay for my blood work, and they won't. It's not that they won't. They fight me for it, but the tests that I need, I can't get access to because I'm jumping through hoops. They're failing me. I need an appointment with the oncologist. They won't do it. I try to get community care, and then I call community care and like, hey, we'll be in touch in 3 days. It's been 2 weeks. It's like, guys, what if I only had 3 months? And the stress, come on, man, a brain cancer diagnosis.
Well, I think this brings up a perfect point to this whole thing. They just want you to die and go away. All right, it's just like my case, right? They just want me to run out of money, and they want me to go away and stop suing them, and stop calling congressmen, and stop going to every Republican or Democrat meeting demanding that my representatives do something because it's not. And that's why, I mean, this is exactly where we're going with this, is that the only way to get any type of attention on this is you have to make it bigger than yourself. Your case is important, but nobody cares about Casey West. Nobody cares about Adam Dorito, which is why I started like the Dorito Act to reform the NDAA to make sure that it is illegal for officers to change your medical records, which you would think would be common sense, but it's not. You know, it's just like, for you, it should be like the Casey West Act, you know, having access to community care for severe diagnosis after serving in combat. I don't think we're asking for a lot here. Like, this is purely common sense. And what blows my mind is that the solutions are so simple, and we spend billions of dollars on nothing. Literally, like, what, $50 billion for condoms in Gaza, even though it's probably like some CIA cover op, but that's a whole other story. I mean, but other than that, like, we have no problem wasting money and throwing it away. But the people that fought a 20-year war that these geriatric fucks, to use this quote from Step Brothers, you know, used to send us to war for 20 years, and now they don't want to pay for it and be responsible for the people that they sent to war. And that's what drives me absolutely crazy. And that's why, like, I'm so motivated to remove these people from office and put people like you in office.
That's right.
You know, or anyone else who cares, because we're all millennials at this point. We're all old enough. We know how the game is worked. We fought your war. We know that you screwed us. So now we're going to do something about it, which is like, you know, like you connected with Jason. Like, the whole point of the American Veterans First Association is to get good, ethical, moral veterans to run for office and replace the people that sent us to war and broke us for 20 years. And we're seeing the consequences of that with you. This is such a simple solution. What drives me nuts is that you just can't get a doctor's appointment. And this is one of the reasons I'm a reservist now, is because I use my civilian health insurance. Like, if I had your illness right now, I could get an appointment next week.
Yeah.
Why can't we do that for our veterans? We have one of the biggest VA facilities in the country, and they don't care.
Yeah, so I think with, like, you know, going into this, like, you know, the Casey West Act or, you know, something like that. So this has been like a goal of mine, a dream of mine. This has been in the back of my head for years, because if I can figure out a way to connect with the right people, and I can show what I'm doing works, and or what I'm doing, the flaws in the system and how we can fix it. Dude, I've been writing notes for 3 years. I've beat my diagnosis by over 3 years now. And the issues are, we need to come together collectively and get our brothers and sisters what they need. You shouldn't be forced into one way of healing, because not everybody heals the same. We obviously see the statistics with chemo and radiation aren't very well. They're not serving people very well. And if you do have toxic exposures like I do, like a lot of us do, extreme radiation, extreme whatever, heavy metals, or the uranium that I've been exposed to, and it's causing a lot of oxidative stress, like, chemo is not going to help you. Radiation is not going to help you.
You know what? More radiation, Casey. You need more radiation to fix the radiation, because the radiation is obviously not killing you.
That's exactly
already. It's ridiculous.
That's exactly right. So we need to come up with a plan that we have access to other treatments and we get faster access. There should be a fast track to treatments if you have a terminal diagnosis. I shouldn't be waiting over 30 days and then getting a call from this lady Monica. Getting a call from old Monica, and she's laughing at me because they made an error in my scheduling.
Oh, sorry, we made an error in your cancer screening diagnosis. Sorry, Monica, no big deal. Just don't die this week. We promise we're going to fix it for you.
And that's disheartening, because I am trying to do it the right way. I removed myself from the VA system for years because I know what I had to go through to get the care I needed before, which wasn't really care, but the stress that it caused, beating a terminal brain cancer diagnosis. I think a lot. I have all the thoughts and the stress that comes with these negative thoughts and dealing with these stressful situations with the VA that I can't be a part of. I have to avoid this. So the fact that I've jumped back in the den of the VA and they're just ripping me apart again. And it's like, how long can I stand up to this without just being exhausted and getting what I need, or potentially a cancer coming back because of all the stress of just trying to get what I need? And if I could afford it and go privately, I would. I shouldn't have to. I shouldn't have to come out of pocket for this stuff. The cancer, I'm 100% service connected from my cancer as well. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
it's a common, if you're a 100% disabled veteran, like, you have more access than everybody else. And the fact that you're still having an issue is absolute insanity. But like, you bring up this point, is that it's kind of the situation I'm in with my legislation and my issue. If I don't do it, who else is going to? Because no one else is going to have the guts and the moral integrity and intestinal fortitude to stand up at your personal expense. And I'm sure, like, you'll get ridiculed online and people will attack you and people will say, shut up and stop being a pussy. You know, like, it's not really that bad. Oh, I was on a CH-53 and I shot bullets and I didn't get radiation. Shut up, dude. You know, and you know exactly what I'm talking about, because it happens all the time. It happens all the time. And it's like, but you want to know what? I am a cancer patient. And I can't afford to go to MD Anderson in Texas, right? And I can't afford these treatments. And I don't want to take a handful of pills hoping that I'll stick a shotgun in my mouth and blow my brains out to save the country a couple $100,000 because they don't want to pay for my treatment. I mean, that's what they're hoping for. You know what I mean? So it's, if not me, then who?
That's right.
And that's the position you're in now.
And I see why we resonate so deeply, like why we've connected here. You know, this is a divine connection. The warrior spirit that you have in you, that your great-great-great-grandfather had in him. You know what I mean? So like my goal here is to make change. And what that looks like, I don't know yet. But someone out there will hear what I'm trying to do. And maybe they want to jump in. Maybe they want to have a conversation with me and dive deeper in how we can make a change. And it's very easy to see what's going on. You know, we have a broken system, right? So order out of chaos. So we fire 85,000 employees and then we put good ones in, or we find veterans who want to run for office, like you're saying, like having people who actually care, and not just because they hear a sad story, but because they've lived this shit, because they know on an intrinsic level what we're feeling because they've gone through it ourselves. So my goal here really is to connect to an audience. If you're out there and you're going through this, you're not alone, for one, right? Hang on. You know what I mean? Like, just keep fighting. I don't know any other way. You bring up the word intestinal fortitude, man. If that isn't just like the perfect phrase right there for what we have to have, the tenacity that we have to keep fighting when it's just like an uphill battle. It's never been nothing more than uphill battle since joining the Marine Corps. So now the terminal diagnosis, like, man, I'm glad I'm stubborn as hell, right? And refuse to die with every cell in my body. And before I die, I'll make all the change I can before I leave this place. So that's what we're doing here, me and you both. That's the mission.
So let's talk about the VA a little bit, because I think some people who've never experienced that system, like I said, I still can't get an appointment. It's been 4 years, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not as messed up as you are, right? But like I said, we kind of mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, people are complaining and saying, "Oh, President Trump is hurting veterans, and he's taking away resources from veterans, and he's firing 80,000 federal workers, and it's going to hurt our vets." Well, our vets are already hurting, and nothing is getting done. So why don't you explain for people who have never been in the military or don't really understand, like, your experience with the VA directly and how that's brought you to this exact spot? Like, what pushed you to do this? Because for people who don't understand how the federal government works and the bureaucracy that's involved, all they can do is go, "Oh, those poor civilians without a job," right?
Yeah, I mean, what we pretty much deal with from the VA, anyone who has some serious issues, getting what you need in a timely manner is almost impossible. You know, I brought up the suicide hotline earlier because it's like this running joke. Like, you call the suicide hotline and they put you on hold, or you call the suicide hotline and the person talking to you is just there for a paycheck. It's like, how do you even have the ability to stay in that moment and not smoke yourself when the VA is providing you something that you can't resonate with in that moment? You're a combat veteran. You've been to war. You've seen death. Maybe you've taken some lives. You've seen some really gruesome stuff. And the help that they give you is a pill. Here's a pill. It's like, dude, talk therapy is proven useless. There's medicines out there in the jungle that do a hell of a lot better than that pill. That Xanax, that Seroquel. They want to turn you into a zombie, make you less lethal. They don't want you to have that free mind. They don't want you to figure out the system. So you're going to the VA and you meet roadblock after roadblock. It doesn't matter if you're there for a physical injury, mental injury, moral injury, whatever you got going on. You will run into too many roadblocks to try to get what you need. And the way the system is set up, it's like the doctors that they have, they do their best, right? They're doing their best. A lot of them, there are some good doctors in the VA. But when you got to get to that doctor, you got to deal with a scheduler who's an a-hole.
Or has no idea what they're doing.
That's right. Oh, yeah.
I've been, like I said, I've had to deal with all these schedulers. And like, so there's a VA in Wyoming at FE Warren Air Force Base. And then there's another VA down here in Denver. I live closer to Denver, but they keep trying to send me to FE Warren. I'm like, no, I'm not driving to Wyoming. Just send me to Denver. They're like, oh, okay, well, we accidentally made an appointment in Denver. And I'm like, what do you mean you accidentally made an appointment in Denver? Here's my address. Here's my CAT card. I'm still in the freaking military, you idiots. Oh, well, why don't you just go down to Carson? No, that's 3 hours away. Like, do you guys know how to use Google Maps? And just don't use the Google Maps to accidentally give Casey, because apparently he got sent to a Hell's Angels house, which I think was definitely a CIA plot, because the government's always tapping my shit out here. But it's fine.
Yeah, so that level of incompetence and your energy just now, right? Your shift of energy, because that feeling. Like, they suck so bad that they can't even schedule an appointment correctly.
And that's why you should be fired. Because you can't even schedule an appointment, so you should be fired.
So people don't understand out there that are like, oh, they're going to hurt the VA. It's like, dude, if they fire 85,000 of those idiots, we're in a better place. How about you let the veteran schedule in his own appointment if that's what it costs? Because at least they'll try to get it right, because it's their appointment and they care.
But like, that's what I do on my UC Health app. Like, if I need an appointment with my really good doctor at UC Health, I go on my app and I schedule an appointment with my doctor. I see his availability. I put myself in the schedule, and then they'll call me to confirm that's what I want to do. And what do I need to hire? Elon Musk's, like, what was his name? Ballsack or whatever, to come in here and make an app? I mean, this isn't hard. I mean, if I could put an F-22, we just put a goddamn rocket into space with Elon Musk, and you're telling me we can't have a scheduler for a guy with terminal brain cancer? Like, what planet are we living on?
It's comical. It's like, it's the irony of the whole situation. And all these people are like screaming and crying about what's happening, but they don't quite understand the inner workings of what we deal with on a daily basis or weekly basis, and how stressful it is. And like, you're talking about your experience and how they keep scheduling in Wyoming. That's stress. That's unnecessary stress. And then every time you got to call the VA, and they're like, oh yeah, call this number. Oh no, here, I call my patient advocate, right? So when things aren't working properly in the VA, they tell you, call your patient advocate, and they'll tell you or help you or get you what you need within the VA system. So you call the patient advocate, and the patient advocate doesn't have the right information. Can't blame the guy. Don't understand why he doesn't have it, but he just simply doesn't have it. So then he sends you to specialty scheduling. And specialty scheduling is supposed to be able to schedule with different doctors or whatever to get you on the schedule if you can't reach the certain doctor you're trying to get in touch with. So I call specialty scheduling. And then I'm like, hey, I need a hematology oncologist appointment. And they're like, oh, we can't schedule that. I was like, so I just wasted 2 fucking hours on the phone. I have a brain cancer diagnosis, you assholes. Like,
no, it's bone spurs or something.
Yeah,
like,
right. So ibuprofen is not going to work. I can't.
Did you change your socks? Did you change your socks? This guy didn't change his socks. That's why he's got cancer.
I forgot the moleskin.
This podcast is over. He didn't change his socks? Okay, that's it.
That's the idiocracy of it all. So you're running in circles. You're doing exactly what they tell you to do. And at the end of the day, after you spend 2 or 3 hours on the phone, you're not anywhere closer than when you first freaking called. So this is just like a normal day for people like me or anybody
else. Did they
else.
send you a mail-in to do a schedule? Because they did that to me. They're like, okay, so I'm on the phone with them to make an appointment. And I'm like, all right, can we schedule this? Oh, no, we have to send you the form. What do you mean send me the form? Just email it to me. No, we're going to mail it to you. What do you mean you're going to mail it to me? What is this, the 40s? And I'm like, I know how to use a computer better than you do. They literally sent me a packet to fill out. Okay, they mailed it to my house, and then I have to mail that back to Kansas to get an appointment in Wyoming to tell them to switch it to Denver. I still haven't heard back from them. This has been 4 years, by the way. Like, what? First of all, who is opening all of these letters for scheduling appointments? You know what I want to know? My dog outside could probably do a better job. At least she knows where the mailbox is. You know, it's some random PO box in Kansas. Like, are you serious?
Yeah.
Like, of course, and this is like just my experience. And this is why most people just give up and drink themselves to death and take a handful of pills and call it good.
Well, you're absolutely right, man, because if I'll give you another example, right? Trying to get an MRI for my brain if I'm having some complications, because I do go through things. I don't always know what's going on in my brain, so it's better to be safe than sorry. Test don't guess. So if I need an MRI, I need to go get an MRI, and I shouldn't have to wait 30 days, and I definitely shouldn't have to be paying out of pocket, right? So I've already paid for multiple MRIs out of my pocket over the last 3 years, and me trying to get an MRI, and you try to get it scheduled through the community care that you're out in town seeing your own doctor and you're set up, and then you get a year of authorization to go see this doctor. And if the doctor's office, why are they only giving you a year? Why isn't it unlimited? So they only give me a year authorization, and then at the end of that year, if the doctor's office doesn't send up for a new authorization like a month or two prior, now the authorization drops dead. Now
you better redo it. And that's if you're mentally competent. What if your brain cancer was so severe that you can't dial a telephone and you're licking a Tootsie Pop and your wife it can't do anything about it? Or what if you're single by yourself? Like, you might be like, okay, literally I have cancer and I'm dying and I can't do anything. I need like assistance. I need like a hired aid to do things. They're not going to know what to do either. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, you're a functioning terminal diagnosis cancer person. I don't know many of those. And I give you a lot of credit for even doing all the things you do and staying healthy, which is like so important to do that. And we'll get to that later. But like, it just drives me absolutely insane how it's like, oh, it's your problem, and it's still your problem. It's totally not our fault, even though we promised you all this care by signing the dotted line, and they still can't get it right.
We admitted that it's 100% service-connected glioblastoma. We admitted that. For sure, we got you. Maybe. We might have you. We don't have you.
You didn't read the fine print, though. There's the little paragraph you missed.
So, I mean, I am doing really well because I refused radiation. I refused chemotherapy.
That would have killed you faster.
It would. I would be dead already. Right. And I knew that. Something in my body intuitively knew that if I was going to go down that road. But, dude, everybody that I joined this battle with, glioblastoma battle, they're all dead. Every single one of them. 3 dudes of other cancers.
They're like, damn it, Casey's still alive.
Yeah.
Now he's bitching about it on the internet.
Right.
What are we going to do? Now he found who Dorito was. Now they're really fucked.
So, which is really funny. That's why I love this connection so much, because it's like, dude, like, we're going to make some noise here. But yeah, man, it is exhausting. And like, I do need help. And me first up, veterans aren't good at asking for help anyways. Because why do we join the military for? Because we're selfless, self-sacrificing individuals. We're ready to go die for our brothers and sisters here on back home, for them to have a better opportunity in life, for freedoms, to maintain safety and security, which obviously the world's gone to shit. But that was the goal.
We got to fund the next war, dude. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Come on.
So
I was over there when that stuff was going on. I was there when Ukraine got invaded. I was there like watching them build all that shit up against the wall for Israel. I'm like, oh, great. I'm going to be back here in like 2 fucking years.
Yeah. And it's interesting because us GWOT guys know. We know the dance. We're watching it again.
You know, and the worst part is too is like, people are going to watch this podcast, and we're trying to inspire the next generation of warriors to replace us. Because look, as much as I think I'm invincible, as much as you can go out and do as many kettlebell swings as you want, there's going to be a point in time where the uniform gets hung up and it's over, right? And for you, that time is over. My time is not over, and it's like I refuse to get out because I'm like, oh no, these guys don't have any NCOs. They don't have any officers that can lead them, and I'm not afraid to say something when somebody's doing something bad, right? But like, there's going to be a time when I have to quit, right? And if people are seeing our experiences, and especially your experience, what is going to motivate them to like join the military? Like, oh, so I'm going to get cancer? I mean, but the machine guns are cool. Don't get me wrong. Helicopters are cool. Machine guns are cool. Blowing stuff up is fun sometimes, as long as you're not staying in the blast wave. But I mean, but I'm going to get cancer and die before I'm 40? No, I think I'm going to take a pass on that one, right? Because I know I'm not going to get care that was promised to me. So what's the inspiration for people to want to join the military and do all these things?
Yeah, so I think that, they better have some good recruiting films. You know what I mean? Like, they better have...
Wait, did you join when they were climbing the rock monster one, like from the 90s? Like, that's a great Marine commercial. I mean, right then and there, I'm like, I want to be a Marine.
Yeah, I mean, for me, dude, like, this is what we're going to run into. There are going to be kids that no matter what you tell them, that's what they're meant to do. They're going in there.
They're from Arkansas and Texas, by the way.
Yeah. So, and I was raised in Southeast Texas. So,
and point proven right there.
Yeah. So this idea that we're going to have fighters, we're not going to have warriors coming in, because those warriors are getting kicked out. The guys like us, bro, I was going to end up getting kicked out because the old school Marine mentality.
Shut up and don't say anything.
That's right. But it's gone. And Marines have stress cards now. How the
I was around when that was going on. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me.
Do you see what I'm saying? Like, bro, we did not have stress cards. Oh, sorry. Something on the helicopter, the system just went out. We're falling out of the sky. I don't think I can act accordingly. So here's my stress card. We're all gonna die. No, dude, you got to jump into action and figure out what the hell is going on. Pull that circuit breaker, do that, get hydraulic fluid back in the system. You got to figure that out on the spot. Oh, we got a guy dying in the back of the helicopter. Or that warrior mentality is fleeting these days, it seems like. So what are we going to do?
One of my best friends I went to OCS with, he was an infantry officer at Pendleton, and he was telling me this story of like they were taking a 53 over the mountains, and like it just failed. And they hit the side of this mountain. Like they broke that thing in fucking half. Everybody lived, but everybody was fucked up. And they all just walk it off. You're fine. If you could walk from the helicopter, you're fine. The guys just took a 53 into the side of a mountain. Thank God they had good pilots, and I guess the auto rotating worked on it for once. Yeah. You know what I mean? But it's like, no, you're fucked up. You know what I mean? Like, no. You're gonna be at PT tomorrow. You better be there at 5 a.m. You know what I mean?
Here's your Motrin and a canteen of water.
Yeah, they changed your socks. It's fine.
So, but yeah, bro, I honestly don't know how we're getting further and further away from a warrior standard. And people joining the military, like people that have cush jobs in the military, they're still getting exposed to this stuff. They still are. You know what I mean? Depending on where you're stationed, what water you're drinking and stuff like that, we're still going to get exposed to it.
Yeah, especially at Lejeune. I mean, that's and Red Hill Fuel Center. I know one of the main moms down there, they were poisoned by the fuel leaking into their water system in Hawaii. And the government's trying to act like, oh, we're totally not responsible for this. There's fuel leaking into the drinking water, and you're saying it's safe. Or even on the naval carrier groups that they had jet fuel leaking into the water treatment system, and they're like, no. You could totally drink this. It's fine. The guy's watching the Jet A float on top of the water. Meanwhile, the captain of the ship, she's bringing up bottled water, and like, wait, why do you get bottled water? And it's like, no, it's fine. Totally drink it. Like, what? It's obvious. It's not like, oh, it's like so small it might poison you over time. It's like you are telling your sailors and your Marines to drink jet fuel water. Like, what is going on right now? But you're not going to get cancer. It's not service connected.
It's so crazy. Like, I don't often have these conversations with other brothers. You know what I mean? And like, this is normal. Like, I was on a boat for 30 days, and it was horrible. You know what I mean?
That's why I didn't join the Navy. Just the men's department for a very short period of time.
So, knowing, all right, we need to figure something out for the next generation of warfighters that are going to come out, and they get taken care of. And we need to figure out a system, a way that they know what's in their bodies and how to get it out. We need to educate them. So, yeah, I would not take back. If I knew that I would get brain cancer today for joining the Marine Corps, I wouldn't take it back. But I would want to know how to get that stuff out of my system so I don't die from it. I'm spending 4 or 5 years fighting for this country. I'm willing to give my life, of course, but teach me how to save my life in the process when I get done.
And this is why I'm so excited that Pete, we talked at Arlington National Cemetery. We talked about these things. So definitely listen to this podcast when you look at this. But like, this is why I'm glad that Pete Hegseth is in charge of the military now. Yeah, he's a captain, infantry guy. Oh, he's not qualified. Dude, at least he was on the front lines and did something. Unlike the previous guy who wrote himself a Silver Star Award and had his buddies sign it because he walked over the board in Iraq watching a bunch of guys driving a convoy for material resupply. Great job, sir. And then wears a COVID mask. Like, get out of here. And a face shield at the same time. Like, it's just absolutely embarrassing. Meanwhile, we're sucking in dust and jet fumes and all this other crazy stuff, right? But what blows my mind is that we actually have leadership now, right now, in this administration, that is willing to make those changes. And this is why we need to make as much noise as possible and hold our representatives accountable and demand change, because by 2028, our time to make these changes might be over. And look, I worked for Bush. I worked for Obama. Trump won, Biden won, and then Trump too. They all have their faults. All right. Like, I started in 2006. They all have their faults. But right now we're at a point where people are demanding accountability for Afghanistan. Like, I was involved directly in the evacuation of Afghanistan. We got 36 people out, with some of my guys on the ground and coordinating here from the other side. And why did I have to do that? Why am I using a Signal chat group with a bunch of Green Berets and MARSOC dudes that I know and a bunch of Air Force Academy pilots that happen to be my freshmen? I said, remember that time I beat you in the stairwell? Yeah, well, I need you to take the C-17, scan these wristbands, and get them on the fucking plane right now. And then I'll send you a bottle of Johnny Walker Blue, which I spent about $4,000 in Johnny Walker Blue, but it was totally worth it. We saved 36 Afghan interpreters and their families, right? And one of the families said one of the guys I went to the Air Force Academy with, right? But why did I have to do that? Why isn't the President of the United States? Why is nobody taking accountability for the simplest things? But now the investigation, the commission's going to start now for accountability for Afghanistan. And if that goes through, then the next thing's got to be the VA. The next thing has to be the afterthoughts. So, second, third, fourth, and fifth order of effects, not just the second one, right? We got to think beyond that, right? And one thing I'm fascinated is that you mentioned is that all the guys that were given the same diagnosis as you are no longer with us. Tell me how the hell you're still here and what you did to survive and talking to me right now.
Yeah, so the first thing that I did was test to see what was in my body, what toxins were killing me, right? Your environment is everything. So making sure you remove all the external stressors you can while you're trying to figure it out. I went right into deep research. Like, I read everything I possibly could. I went the
you can read?
Yeah.
You're a Marine. How's that possible? I thought you didn't just do a crayons and stick them in your ears?
I was just going to say, I'm not just a crown eater anymore. I've upgraded my life, okay? So maybe it was the plant medicine, the mushrooms, or whatever I ate to help expand my awareness. But let me tell you, the amount of research that I did, it wasn't out there. Like, they've been compiling research for years, and I went into how to get the toxins out, how to heal my body. Like, I knew I had a small window of survival. So the best way that I could get to that end goal and last as long as I could was to clean my body out and make it as healthy as I could. Eat healthy. Stop eating sugars, right? Like, starve the cancer. Fasting. Starve your body so it starts autophagy, so it start eating all your cells, right?
Dude, I'm not going to lie. You're one of the best in shape post like GWAT dudes that I know. And I'm so proud of you because most of you are fat and you're still eating tornadoes and white monsters. So stop that shit. But like, no, it's and this is something I advocate for, even as a 37-year-old with broken joints and a compressed spine, right? You got to keep working out, guys. You got to do the simple shit. You got to do semi the opposite of what they taught you to do in the military, where it's like no rest, no recovery, just drink yourself to sleep every night. That's not the solution, right? And you are living proof of like these alternative methods and using plant medicine and using what. That's why I live on a farm and I grow my own food, literally for these reasons, right? Is because taking care of yourself is so important, because if you don't, no one else is going to.
Yeah, it's absolutely right. And that's literally the story of my life, right? So getting the diet dialed in, you speak on exercise. Cancer doesn't thrive in a body that has more muscle mass. As long as you're not doing anabolics, right? It doesn't mean go do a bunch of anabolics and you're not going to get
Looking
cancer.
at you, MPs, every single one of you. Yeah, those 22-inch biceps aren't natural. Gunnery Sergeant Luciano. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
I love being on this podcast with you because everyone has that gunny, right? Everyone knows a guy like that.
You don't like biceps? Sure, you're not like those are not. You don't like these? You don't like these? The ladies do. Okay, Gunnery Sergeant Luciano. Like, you always remember the names of the guys that's a real dude. He's probably gonna watch this too. God damn it, Dorito. You know. Yeah,
I mean it's funny that we, like, without knowing like exactly who you're talking about, we have the same experiences. We know these.
You
guys.
have a Gunnery Sergeant Luciano.
They all exist. That's right. So. Exercise, big time. You know what I mean? When you go and do chemo and radiation, it just destroys your body.
And you can't work out.
No, I mean, you don't have the energy to. And if you're working out, your body needs time to heal. So you're like doing double damage while you're getting all the oxidative stress from working out, the chemo, the radiation. So you got to make the decision early on. Like, fear was not a factor in this. Because fear is what gets people to do just doing things that they don't want to do. It shuts down the thinking mind. Fear is fight or flight, survival. And if you don't trust your intuition, you're going to listen to someone else who doesn't know. A doctor is making an educated guess. They don't know about a lot of these alternative treatments that are out there because they're losing money. An oncologist makes a percentage of every round of chemo he sells. Where's the conflict of interest in that?
You have to keep your body moving and you have to keep trying. You can't give up. And so many cancer patients just give up and they just waste away and die.
There are alternative therapies that complement chemo and radiation. I want to state this. I am not completely against chemo and radiation. Was it for me? Absolutely not. Has it helped some people? Yeah, maybe. But there are other treatments that you can do alongside with chemo and radiation to help.
So can you talk about some of those treatments, like what you did and what you were involved in? Because, like, dude, I looked at your website and all the even the sound healing and stuff like you did. Like, dude, it's working. It's obviously working. Yeah. You still have all your hair.
Thanks. Yeah, I actually grew more back since my diagnosis.
There you go.
Thank you, bro. But yeah, so like the treatments that I've done, right? So I've got high dose vitamin C was one of the original therapies I started doing. and I was doing heavy doses, not just like 25 or 50. I was doing 100 grams of vitamin C, which is 100,000 milligrams. And that's, most people like that's unheard of, but I was doing 100 grams. I was doing methylene blue IVs. I was doing biomodulation, photobiomodulation, so light therapies on the methylene blue with red light. I've got machines that can take my blood out, an ultraviolet blood irradiation machine that can take my blood out, run it through UVA, UVC, different color lights, the polychromatic therapies to help clean my blood out from the toxins and stuff that are going through my body. Coffee enema, shoving coffee up my ass and detoxing that way, like high dose melatonin. Like there are so many ways to help beat cancer and aid the body in healing, like ozone. Ozone's another one, like the EBU treatments where they take your blood out and they clean all your blood out of your body. It's like getting an oil change. There is an endless, talk about sound healing, frequency. Everything in this world is frequency. And if you understand that cancer has a mortal oscillatory rate, which is the rate at which a frequency can hit a tumor and blow it up. That's real. It's been proven. Dr. Raymond Rife, he was back in the day. He went through a lot of hell. His information's out there. Go research it. But there are so many different ways. There's Dr. Hoxie, like Hoxie tonics, where one day this farmer or whoever had this horse and the horse got sick and it kept eating these herbs and the horse got healthy and they figured out, oh, wow, now they had this tonic and that dude fought a bunch of stuff. So detoxing is very important. Detoxing the cells is very important because if you don't have room to absorb minerals because your cells are overloaded with toxins, you're going to have a hard time healing. So I can't stress how important detoxification is, but it needs to be done the right way. You need to be using binders to catch whatever's coming out of your body. You need to be getting that out the right way. So like infrared sauna, you have hypothermia. You can go, dude, I went to a sweat lodge. The doctor told me I was going to die. I went to a sweat lodge at this event at the Heroes and Horses Ranch. Big Fish and Mosaic Foundation put this event on, and they had a sweat lodge out there. And I went in there, and I was like, dude, I could totally die. But I'd rather, die trying. So I went in the sweat lodge and made it out. And it was one of the craziest experiences of my life. And like hypothermia can kill cancer. You can go and get in cold water. I got a cold plunge in my garage. Me and my lady get in there all the time. Getting in cold water, getting blood to your core, getting blood to your brain, and supplementing the right way. Fasting is so important. I brought this up earlier. 72-hour water fast is so important. If people know that their bodies have the ability to heal themselves, but we're too busy eating all the time, so it's focused on digestion and not restoration and not scavenging all the bad cells out and building new ones and refreshing the immune system and putting more stem cells in there. Dude, I went up against all odds, and I did stem cells in Florida with Dr. John Lawrence at Advanced Rejuvenation in Sarasota. I went down there, and I did his stem cells, and he's got adipose-derived stem cells, and those have Mu cells, and these cells eat up cancer cells. So whatever it takes, bro, like I've figured out a way, and I've gone and done all the things that people told me not to do, or you could die doing this, and ayahuasca. I had a full-blown exorcism on ayahuasca, bro. It was insane.
That's what I'm talking about.
That's where me wanting to kill myself disappeared with the fourth cup of ayahuasca I drank. And it was absolutely insane. I had a demon pulled out of me. All the darkness I've been around in my life, dude. So you have to be willing to go way outside of your comfort zone. That scares you. Why does it scare you? Go dive into that fear. Is it because you're afraid to heal? Are you afraid what could possibly happen? Or are you just going to sit back and listen to what some doctor tells you what to do? And he doesn't even know. He's never done any of that stuff.
Most of these doctors in the United States are like general practitioners. Most of them are overweight. They have no idea what they're talking about. And I think their cancer class is 3 weeks out of 8 years of medical school.
Who writes their books?
Unless you're a specialist. Right, exactly.
Who writes their books?
Yeah, whose
interests are in the books that they learn and the medicines they provide. So we all know this. Look what RFK Jr. is talking about.
I'm so fully supportive of this guy just wiping all this crap out of the face of the earth.
That's right.
Hey, we'll start with Steak and Shake with beef towel. I guess that's a start. But it's 100% necessary. This government and its special interest lobbies have been trying to kill Americans and with the massive obesity rate and everything else for decades. Mm-hmm. Look into the sugar lobby. Look into the white sugar lobby and see how they literally are just trying to kill Americans post World War II.
Yeah, so we are now seeing the veil has been lifted. We have the right people in the right places to actually make some change. And I don't care if you don't like politics, dude. I don't get involved in politics. But I know the only way to change anything is to beat them at their own game. So you get the right politicians in the right places. You get veterans running for office. You get these people local, start local, whatever you need to do, get the community involved all the way up the top, micro to macro. We can make these changes. And it's happening. We've never seen this level of transparency at all. And since I'm 33, about to turn 34, there's not been this level of transparency since I've been alive. You know what I mean? So getting more of this type of stuff out there, coming together, making a change, there's other ways to do this stuff. And like now we're seeing that you don't have to die to beat cancer. They don't have to kill you. The treatments are killing people.
No, they want you to die. It's cheaper for them, you know? And this is what drives me nuts, is that this is actually the reason I got involved in politics. I'm like you, man. I wanted nothing to do with these people. After all my friends died and all this crazy stuff happened to me in my life, I just wanted out. I didn't even think I was going to go back into the military. I had a 5-year break in service before I went back in 2015, where I just like, I need to give another shot. But what I realized is that even from the lowest level, your mayors, your county commissioners, like they not just control your taxes and everything else, but like they're the ones who are influencing members of Congress. And then I started learning how this works in Colorado with the Colorado GOP. I literally sent an email randomly to some random website and said like, hey, when's your next meeting? And then I showed up, and then I realized it's a bunch of old people talking about Reagan like this still matters. I'm like, what? Wait, these are the people that are in charge of my life. And I know, look, guys, I know, especially after our experiences, you want nothing to do with the government. You want to get as far away from it as possible, and you just want to live on a piece of land and shut the gate and not talk to anybody. And I did that for a long period of time. And then I realized, you want to know what's changing? Nothing. Nothing is going to change because these people are still in control of stuff. So I started showing up to meetings and started holding people accountable. And, you know, I even for years, I dealt with like Ken Buck, who was up here in District 4 for years. You know what he did? Nothing. And then I went to the senators, the governor's office. Nothing. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. I'm your constituent. We apparently elected you. I have an issue I need to deal with. And you're not taking it seriously at all. You know, and what's really concerning is like I came back from deployment, and the first Colorado congressperson I met in D.C. literally knocked on the door, full dress blues, which really pissed off the Pentagon. Beg for forgiveness, don't ask for permission kind of thing. Was Lauren Boebert, you know, and she came off as like, I'm a down to earth with my people. She was in Colorado District 3 at the time. And it was like, I have hope. Like she's going to stand up for the people. And she acted like she was super interested in helping me out the Dorito Act and fixing my case. Last week, she tried to get a fight with me on stage when I was trying to run for a position up here as a Weld County like representative. And I was just like, really? Like, we elected you to do something. And now I'm just seeing that it's about the special interest. It's about the money. It's about staying in office. And it's unfortunate. Like, I hope that she changes her mind and she wants to support the Dorito Act and, you know, help with Casey's Act. And then we got 3 new congressmen here. We got Gabe Evans, we got Jeff Hurd, and we got Jeff Crank. And I had great conversation with them about changing the military and helping Fort Carson and the Air Force Academy out. And I'm hoping that they do what they said they were going to do, you know, and if they don't, we're going to have to reevaluate, you know, what's important. And I think like the biggest heartbreaking thing is that, like, you know, you told me you lived in District 7, which is Brittany Peterson. Last week, she was complaining about how the government doesn't support families and children, and that she was being forced to fly to Washington, D.C. with her brand new newborn baby. But she cares about the people, and it's about the people that she represents. Well, why aren't you helping Casey? You know, you got a congressional inquiry going on, and I'm going to call your office. I'm going to make some noise because you have a veteran here who's a combat veteran who has terminal brain cancer who just wants an appointment. And I don't care what side, Democrat, Republican, I don't care what you are. But when your constituents who elected you are reaching out to you for help, we're going to demand that you help them. And if not, we're going to remove you. We're going to find, by, with, and through. We will find a way, right? And I'm just, like, I'm not saying that she's not doing the right thing. Like I said, this process is very early on. Like I said, I've been doing this for 15 years, right? It takes some time. On average, it takes 7 years to pass a bill, which is nuts, you know, but I hope that she hears this. And if we had to feel sorry for you that you had to bring your newborn baby on an airplane to D.C. to vote for your people, then I would expect you to take a phone call and take this case seriously, that we can start the process to get not only Casey an appointment, but the tens of thousands of other veterans that are in the same exact situation that you are.
Yeah, and that's my prayer, brother. I did fill out, I went down the congressional inquiry path, and I did everything I was supposed to do. Wrote her the email. Her, whoever her assistant, whatever her title is, called me and let me know that they sent that up. And wherever that leads, I have no idea. But that doesn't change anything of what I have going on right now. I still don't have an appointment. I still haven't gotten a call for community care. So we'll see what happens Monday or Tuesday. But what if I needed a scan? What if I needed these things? You know what I mean? So now I'm forced to go into an emergency room to go get the things that I need. Like, that shouldn't be my option. It's stressful enough needing these things and then having to go into the emergency room to just go get a scan like that. This should not be the route I have to go. You know what I mean? And there should be like some sort of system set up. So my prayer is that, first off, all these people that have been involved in failing me over and over again, they either need to get fired or, hey, if you do this again, you're out of here kind of situation. Because I'm not about like burn it down, but
you will. You'll get there. It's coming. You have a little bit. Oh, we'll give it a wee bit of hope, as like Robin Williams says. I'm talking about golf. Like I was the same way, man. Like I'm like, this is a moral, ethical, bipartisan issue about reforming rape, sexual assault, retaliation, and falsifying mental health records. I don't think this is a big deal. I think this is something everyone can get along with. You have terminal brain cancer, and people are still debating whether they want to help you. Mm-hmm. If they're not going to, then it needs to change.
Yeah. So someone out there will hear this in the right place, and they'll get me what I need. But it's not what I need. It's what everybody needs. So that's just the beginning of this whole thing that I plan on making happen. And I plan on being around to see it through. You say 7 years, let's do it. You know what I mean?
So what are you doing right now? You got Instagram going. You're teaching veterans the process. You're teaching them how to navigate these things just from your personal experiences. Mm-hmm. Where can people connect with you? Where can people reach out to you? Where can people support you on your GoFundMe page? Because I know you got medical bills to pay, and I know like you need as much help as you can while we try to get these representatives to do their job.
Yeah. So my Instagram is my main platform. I don't have the energy to keep up all the other ones. Me and my partner create all my own content. We spend hours a week dialing it in. I record all, everything I can with the VA. I'm sharing my information and my experiences so other people know what to expect and what organizations to reach out to possibly. And then, I also use my platform to share information about cancer, alternative methods to help heal, detox the body. And like, I really just stay vulnerable about how I heal, whether it be mental health, and I'm doing like ketamine sessions, like through Mind Bloom, which is another good organization. But I have my Instagram, which is, transmute that energy, and energy is INNERG. And my goal and what I'm building right now is I'll be doing a rebrand, and I'll be starting coaching and having a little group where people can come together, veterans with cancer, people with cancer, whatever, and like a place for resources. Because you have one oncologist, he sees thousands of people, but those people that he's seeing aren't connected to each other, and they absolutely should be. And it doesn't matter like what works for me. It may not work for you, but at least you know what works for me, and you can try it, in a safe manner. I'm not a doctor. I'm not telling you what to do. But so creating a community, right? And the end goal really is to have like my own little setup in the woods, a healing retreat. I already have, dude, I turned my house into a cancer treatment facility. Hyperbaric chambers, infrared sauna, cold plunge, all the other devices I listed on, the red light therapy, the ultraviolet blood irradiation machine, like all the things. So the end goal would be is to have a place where people can just come in. You know what I mean? Like there is funding for them, find funding to get them in and get them to heal. So I'm just at the beginning of that journey. So sharing my story, sharing how I do it, how I've got here, being vulnerable is really important. And all the support I can get, I need it, because none of this is just for me. If it was for me, I wouldn't be on Instagram. I wouldn't waste my time. I have a terminal brain cancer diagnosis, bro. Do you think that it doesn't take for me to be around Wi-Fi? Take for me to be on my phone? I'm talking to hundreds of people a week, helping them out, brothers and sisters. So many military guys are coming out with these terminal cancers. They're getting screwed, dude. Their family members with cancer. Like it's a full-time job right now, just connecting with people and trying to help the best I can. So I want to be able to streamline all this. And this is kind of like the path that I'm on.
And what's so admirable to me is that you don't feel sorry for yourself, and you've taken all of your pain, and instead of being negative about it or trying to start fights, I mean, there's fights to be started, but they're justified fights. you're using it to heal not only yourself, but you're healing other people. And literally the advice that you've given and the things that you've talked about today are probably worth all the 80,000 people that we just fired. You know what I mean? You've given more positive influences to how to help treat advanced cancer in its later stages than the VA's ever going to give anybody, because they all just want us to die and go away. It's cheaper. It's easier. They can print you out a freaking, white carved stone flag, bury you in Logan National Cemetery, call it good. Thank you for your service. Done. Right. And that's what they want. But like you are leading the front and you're leading this fight in alternative medicine and alternative treatments. And the only thing you're asking for, you're not asking for anything. You're asking for the basic things that you were promised when you signed to defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And as I have learned, I have fought more domestic enemies in this country than I ever had to fight overseas. And I got to give it to those guys overseas. I don't agree with their ideology. Most of them are terrorists, but they believe in what they do, and I have to respect them for that, right? But then I come back here, and I see the war that's going on at home, and they are some of the most evil, conceited people I have ever dealt with. At least ISIS is willing to shake your hand to your face. I mean, I'm going to hit you with a drone after that, but I mean, at least like, yeah, okay, you don't like me, I don't like you. Good luck. May the odds be forever in your favor, right? Take it in, sir. Enter, right? At least it was more of an honorable enemy to fight. But the enemy that we're fighting here is ourselves and complacency and corruption within the systems that were established that we swore to defend. And I just want to thank you for coming on this podcast today and telling your story and being so vulnerable. Because if these stories don't get out and we don't have these discussions and we don't hold our leadership accountable in Congress and in the Senate, nothing is going to change. And yeah, you're going to get lambasted and you're going to get run over and people are going to probably come up with some crazy shit that you did in the past. And this is why we can't ever work with Casey West. You know what I mean? Fuck you.
Yeah.
Because you're still standing. You're still doing it, right? And without you, this is never going to change.
Well, the good thing is I put all my past out there for everyone to see. There are no skeletons in the closet.
Thing.
You know what I mean?
Here it is.
So come on and try. There's nothing to hide here. And it's about all of us. So if I have to go down for the rest of us, I will. I would have done it before, and I definitely will do it now.
Man, Casey, I don't know what else to say. This is probably one of the best interviews I've ever done. And you're the first one to get to do it in person in my studio. And I want to thank you for driving out here. And we live pretty close to each other relatively from all the other vets I speak with. And we're definitely going to connect. We're definitely going to get the veteran community here involved in Colorado and on the national side with the American First Veterans Association, because you're the one willing to put yourself out there and make the difference. And those are exactly the people we need, because the war's not over.
It may be time to get some nice dress clothes.
Yeah, I had to get that too. I had to buy a bunch of suits and learn how to tailor them and stop wearing cowboy boots and freaking ball caps all the time. But anyway, everyone, I just want to thank you for tuning into the Tuxes Tomahawks podcast today. This has been an outstanding and amazing story from Casey West, and we need to do something. So you need to call Brittany Peterson. You need to call Lauren Boebert, Gabe Evans, Jeff Hurd, Jeff Crank, and make sure that we are taking care of our veterans and demand that they do the things that they ran on their platforms when we wanted to elect them. And thanks again, Casey. I appreciate it.